When I first learned about street photography, like the term of street photography, it was more like a mystical genre to me. I had basically no idea what that means. And after a while, street photography is like my favorite now. But by all means, I'm not expert or anything. I'm still learning. And I guess there's really no right or wrong way of doing it. All of these are just my experience. So here are 5 street photography tips that I wish I knew, and hopefully this will facilitate your next photo walk. The very first one is to know when to wait and be patient, and simply just let the action come to you. I'm not a very patient person when it comes to camping for street photos, and this is something I'm still trying to get better at. I think the most that I've waited for a shot was around 30 minutes, and it was in a relatively busy location where things are happening very fast. And I remember that I had a lot of fun doing that, even though the photo did not exactly turn out how I liked it to be. But would I have gotten the shot if I just wait maybe another 30 minutes or so? Possibly, but there's no guarantee. I'm always very eager to just hit the next location or the next spot, just keep on exploring. But since it was a relatively busy location, the possibility of getting the shot I want is quite high. But I just never took the time to keep waiting. And I feel like in that kind of situation, that's when you really want to wait. And it's actually worth waiting because it's a busy location. Things are changing in a very fast pace, which means the chance of you getting that shot is very high. And thinking back, it's always something that I want to go back and fix. However, if you're shooting in a slow-paced location where everything is not moving very fast, like where I am right now, like if I go around my neighborhood or even go to downtown, find a good spot and wait for 30 minutes, I might not even be able to find a person walking into my frame for like 30 minutes. It's gonna take me a lot longer to have anyone to walk into my frame. And in this case, I usually just keep on going, keep on moving, and just hit the next location right after another. So I feel like when you're moving from one place to the next very quickly, usually works when you're not shooting in a busy place, because nothing's really happening around you. And if you want to wait for a shot, you might actually have to wait several hours for it. Now, despite all of my excuses for not being patient, I still think that it's a great way to practice street photography. If you find a great location in a busy area, I say give it a try and wait for the moment to come. Let it reveal itself. Get your camera set up and camp for the shot. And usually when I'm doing that, I have to make myself slow down and observe the environment carefully. This will also make the dynamic between you and the stranger a lot easier when you're taking the shot, because they are the one entering your bubble, your space, instead of you entering theirs, where you are capturing their reaction in that split moment, which a lot of street photographers like to do. But I find myself more of an introvert, so this works fairly well for me. And this way, I'm still able to get the shot without being perceived as a rude or creepy person. Speaking of being patient and camp out for your shot, the next thing I find extremely helpful in street photography is to become a detective yourself. Learn to observe the street, read the room, read the people around you. Just slow down sometimes and get a sense of what's going on. It's like playing Sherlock. Observe people's gesture, the things that they're carrying, the color of clothes that they're wearing. All of these little things matter. After shooting on the street for a while, you'll get the sense of what might happen next. And this could be any sort of situation. You might know when is she gonna brush her hair again because of the windy condition, or which way they'll head to next, or even the situation that they might encounter next right around the block because you know the situation before they did. This way you'll be more than prepared for the shot. Get yourself in the right position, the right lighting, the right composition that you're going for, and just simply anticipate the shot. And by doing so, you'll have a higher chance of capturing more interesting shots. Man, I'm way behind. So after you're all set, you're at the right position, you're just waiting for your decisive moment to come, and everything just doesn't go according to plan. And sometimes that's just the way it is. And from my experience, it is usually never exactly how I anticipate the shot. This unexpected situation might make the shot way better, or it might not. Or maybe I'm just a bad detective. That's all. But hey, if the scene that you have been observing happened exactly how you anticipated, then that's awesome. I hope you got the shot. And if it doesn't happen the way you anticipated, that's okay too, because at least you were prepared and you were waiting there for the shot. That's way better than not knowing about it at all. I used to get so caught up to the photo that I anticipated, the one that I imagined perfectly, how I frame everything and how the light hits the subjects. So if the situation or the shot didn't go the way I planned, I just simply don't think the shot was successful or the right decisive moment that I wanted to keep. But seriously though, don't be like me. Just control what you can and don't stress over something that you don't have control over. Sometimes shit happens. Plus, camping at one spot for the shot is just one of the many ways of street photography. There are lots of spontaneous moments that you can capture just from moving from one place to another. Sometimes you just have to enjoy the process of your photo walk and don't stress out about if you haven't captured a banger photo in your photo walk, because being able to accept failure is just a part of the game. So we kind of mentioned about decisive moment earlier, but what does that even mean? When I first started street photography, the very first term that caught my attention was decisive moment. And for the longest time, I always thought that it's just a matter of whether if I could capture a specific moment or action that somehow makes the shot interesting. And maybe that's what street photography is all about. Capturing that one decisive moment. But then I realized even if one thinks that they have the timing and situation all figured out, things can just happen in a most unexpected way. And the more I try street photography, the more I realize that there's really no universal definition of decisive moment. Oftentimes we capture what we see first, and then we go back to decide which one is the decisive moment. But that also means all of them could have been the decisive moment. You could capture hundreds of photos while observing a situation, but you won't know which one of them is or could be the decisive moment after you go through them. Now obviously, if you take lots of photos of a situation or a scene, then your chance of getting that decisive moment will be very, very high. And with the digital world that we're in right now, this really helps, especially with burst mode. But this could also be a double-edged sword, for me at least. I find myself not focusing on when to press the shutter, and instead I just leave everything to luck and leave all the work to my camera. Now, I'm not against shooting in burst mode or anything. If that works for you, then great. But for me, I feel like I just get too comfortable to the point where I'm not really thinking about the framing and knowing when to press the shutter. All these practice, I'm just like out of my head. I'm just like, press the button and then let it go, which is not healthy and not good practice. See, street photography is just not a one-way street kind of art. Even though we're taking photos of other people or different scenes that we see, but our personality actually shows in our work. The kind of photos you take, the way you present them, how you perceive life as you see it. Once you get an idea about street photography, you'll be able to use it like a skill or tool in your own unique way. The tips that we talked about today are mostly basic fundamentals that can only facilitate your street photography if you actually go out and shoot and eventually develop and mix your own personality in it. Go after something that you're more interested in and photograph what you enjoy the most. And go check out this video to avoid things that you don't want to do in street photography.